Manic, pertaining to or affected by excessive excitement or enthusiasm, craze.
This is Manic Mindset. It's time for another Manic episode with Haley and Lynn. Join us each week as we dive down the rabbit hole of navigating life while being hyper-focused on success. Our Manic moments are where some of our best ideas come from. We not only embrace the chaos, we thrive in it. Hey guys, welcome back. This week we have, I think, a pretty cool one. So we are going to talk about shattering the glass ceiling.
Ooh,
what
this
it's
is a good one.
like to be a woman in this business, a mom, a wife, a friend, all the things, and still making it happen.
It is an easier world that we live in now, but it's still a tough one. And I don't believe it's tough because of the men that are around us as much as it is other women.
And other women's expectations.
Yes, the expectations and living to the standards of what other people think that you should be living to. And I think for some reason, it's not difficult for men to support men, but it can be difficult for women to support women. And I don't know if it's because for so long, the playing field wasn't, even. And so when you were in a position of power, success, whatever it is, and you're a woman, it was like, well, I want to be in that too, and I'm a woman. And I think that created a lot of jealousy and animosity. So the norm has not been for women to support women.
Well, I think one of the big struggles is too, like, men since the dawn of time have been raised to support each other and kind of do that herd mentality thing that, the gatherers that take care of people, all that kind of stuff. And women are still, even though we've come so far, are still kind of stuck in this funk where you still have older generation people who are in the mindset of how dare you work and not raise your children.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have these new generation people, how dare you be a stay-at-home mom and raise your kids and not work and support. And then everyone's kind of stuck in this in-between, and you can't win.
Well, and I see a lot of times, a lot of women feel like they have to do both. You have to burn yourself out. You have to be this amazing mom. Everybody's lunches have to be packed. Clothes have to be pressed, washed, folded, put away. You have to schedule all the doctor's appointments, the dentist appointments. You have to make sure you get the shot records, the physicals, groceries, make dinner, work 40 hours a week, pay all the bills, not necessarily financially because you're going to do that with somebody, but typically take care of all of that.
You're the mental load for everybody.
The mental load for everybody. On top of that, you're trying to have some kind of piece of like socializing, but then that becomes like a workout because it's no longer fun when you have to figure out like, how am I going to squeeze in my friends so I don't lose friends too? It's like this whole balancing act. And of course, I'm going to bring up the famous Grandma Sue because why wouldn't we talk about her on every episode? But I can remember her like even a month ago, she called. It was later at night. Are you busy? And I said, yeah, I'm actually working, but I haven't talked to you in a while, so I want to answer the phone, see how you're doing. And she said, what are you guys having for dinner? And I said, I'm not sure what Dylan's going to make. And she was mortified. She was shook. She was like, what do you mean what he's going to make for dinner? He's cooking dinner? And I was like, yeah. She goes, Haley, you should really be ashamed of yourself. Like, she was really upset about it. And my husband, he was like, I'm pretty sure I can cook. Like, I'm not helpless. I'm happy to do 50-50 with her. And, I mean, that's how she was raised too. And that's what you do. I mean, for a while there, I watched my mother-in-law when, me and Dylan were first married. She worked 40 hours a week. They had a home-cooked meal every single night. She grocery shopped.
I bet she cried a lot, though.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it was her pleasure to feed her family and take care of her family.
I feel like those people that like are doing it all, like those moms that work 40 hours a week and still pack like those adorable little bento boxes with like cut sandwiches and cookie cutter shapes. I bet you they cry in a closet eating snacks a lot because I could see it.
Right.
I mean, I throw a Lunchable in that bitch and I still cry in a closet a lot.
Right. I just, that standard that is set, that us as women have set for ourselves and for those women around us is like so freaking high.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you want to have this sense of, freedom, success, this like, something other than just like a caretaker sometimes. Sometimes you want to have that.
Something that you exist outside of being a mom.
Yeah, and you're like forced to pick. Or if you don't, you're lacking in something.
Yeah.
And that's just not fair. That's just not reality. So I've been very forward and open about, we do 50-50 around here.
Yeah.
It's not always 50-50.
Sometimes you're 60, sometimes you're 40.
Right. It is. I have to flip laundry. You have to flip laundry. I have to do dishes. We have to do those things, but I also have to provide as well. And for a long time, I had a lot of animosity towards my husband. Like, you get to get up in the morning, brush your teeth and throw a hat on and walk out the door. No care in the world.
Yeah.
I'm kind of pissed at you for it. So I kind of got to, he was like, well, you don't, what do you need my help with? You don't give me anything. And I'm kind of like, by the time I give you the shit, tell you how to do it, I might as well just did it myself, right?
Yeah, save myself some aggravation.
But I no longer do that. I told my son, put your dad and I in a group message from now on. When you need something, you can put it in the group message. Don't come just to me.
Yeah, whoever's
your
available
dad
will
is
take it on.
capable, and whoever's available can take it on. So he needed a physical for sports. He put it in. He sent it to me first, and I said, put it in the group message. He put it in the group message. Dylan was like, I can do the physical. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Hey, he needs his oil changed in his car. You need to teach him how to do those things. He scheduled it in his calendar. My husband lives by a calendar now. So
It's because now he runs his own business. Now he has to.
Yeah.
He has to be proper with that time management or it don't work.
And I'll, hey, can you take on these 2 bills? I just don't want to schedule them because if you know me, if I don't have it scheduled, it's not going to get paid. I've got my water shut off so many times.
We just went through again, like getting the new debit card and forgetting all the things that you have on like auto pay. And it was pissing me off. It was like one thing after another. This wouldn't go through. This wouldn't go through. But sometimes it doesn't tell you why. Like I'm trying to pay off the kids' lunch accounts and it's like account number wrong. And I'm like, what is that? Like, what does that even mean? Well, come to find out it's because the card was expired. We had a new one and I didn't know Eric got the new one in the mail. So I'm just like out here flying blind. I'm like, nothing's working. Like, what is going on? Finally sat down the other day, got it all figured out. And I'm like, okay, I think I got everything. Kelly calls, your card on file's not working. I'm like, damn it. I called Eric. I was like, figure it out. I'm done.
Right.
But you
That's
do all
so
those
funny.
convenience things. But yeah, I'm very lucky. I made it very clear earlier on in the marriage and our relationship, even when I was a stay-at-home mom, you don't get to come home and your free time is your time. You don't get to lock yourself in a bedroom. You don't get to do this or that. Your kids have waited all day to see you. I wait all day to see like another adult.
Right.
Like, I'm excited to be here. You have to make time for your family. There's something on like the weekends and I'm like, oh, can I sleep in? Well, I got to get up every day for work at 7. Okay, get up at 7 with your kids every day. Like, so there was a lot of, back and forth of us figuring out what being young parents looked like. And then we got into a groove and then we moved here and we completely switched. He definitely still works, but he works at home. So now he's the one that is home and I'm the one that's out. So now he takes on more of the workload, which is amazing. But there's still some silly things that we'll argue about. Like we have to get up at the same time, but I have to get up and get the kids ready to get out the door at that time. You got to get up and walk 2 doors over to your office in your PJ pants.
Right. With your suit jacket on.
Yeah. And now that I'm right. And now that I'm done at the school, I was like, next year, what's the plan going to be? And he's like, well, you're going to bring him to school. I have to be at work at 7:30. And I was like, okay, but why am I doing it every day? Why is that a thing?
Right.
Like on days I don't have anything, I'm happy to, obviously. Why would you inconvenience yourself if you have somewhere to be? But like, there will be days you're going to have to take it on. And he'll be like, oh, okay, but you get up and get them ready for me. Like, no. That defeats the purpose. If it's your day to bring them and I need some sleep because maybe I didn't get any for the last 2 days or whatever it may be, I have an appointment, something. I'm not getting up and getting them ready. You're taking on getting the kids to school. Get up, get them ready, get them to school. I do it every day.
Yeah.
So there's as much as he does, and as he probably does more of everything now than he ever has. I don't take on too much now, which I secretly love. It's great. But there's still silly things that you're kind of like, whoa, in what world does that make sense to you? Like,
right.
And I do it to him too. Like I'll come home and I'm like, I catch myself doing what I used to yell at him for. And I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm going to sit down for a minute. And he's like, well, that's nice. I worked all day and I guess I'll do the dishes again. And I'm like, okay. Like, then I realize like, but sometimes he has to point it out because I'm just like, the audacity, like I need to relax for a minute. And he's like, okay, everybody does. Get off your ass and get something done.
Right. Well, and to go back to the women supporting women, part of that is the shaming of how other families, women, choose to move in their marriages and how they choose to move in their families and things like that. I think we need to all give each other a little bit of grace and know that we're not going to do it the same.
Yeah.
People may not like how forward I am with my kids. They might not like that we have open conversations about things that they'd be like, I would never talk to my kids about those kinds of things. No one is doing it. We're doing the best we can with what we got.
Yeah.
And in order to be successful and triumphant in our lives, we need to support each other more. It goes back to that community over competition. You're so busy worrying about me and tearing me down and how I move. If you spent a little bit more time supporting me and uplifting me like I would your mindset and everything would be completely different in your life.
Yeah.
And we just really have to quit putting boundaries and women in these bubbles and boxes of what we think that their lives should look like.
And the same for your spouses too. Like it never fails to amaze me. Like if it's a Saturday and I've done open houses or I've had showings or I've had a closing, whatever it may be. And Eric's taken the kids, before we had the pool, you're in the community pool. He takes the kids to the pool. I go up to the pool. I meet him there. They're kind of like winding down. Everyone's like, where have you been? And I was like, I was working. And they're all like, okay, thanks for that. And then you kind of get this like, oh God, it's just, if the man does this parenting, suddenly he's like the best man on the planet. I just can't, but how do you get your husband to do that? What do you mean?
How do I get my husband to take care of his
How do I get my husband to parent and act like a fully functioning grown-ass man? What are you talking about? Like,
right.
I get so aggravated when people do that. Like, how do you get your husband to support you? What kind of marriage you got? Because I didn't have to talk him into it. I just don't understand.
Right.
I don't understand. But you have to, like, I grew up, I guess, kind of differently. Like, my mom was the one out of the house, had this high, career in the city. And my dad was a gym teacher and he was the one that could make it to sporting events. He was the one that took us to and from practice. And we had my grandmother that watched us, in that little in-between from you're out of school, you're waiting for dad to get home. But my dad was basically the one that like did the dinners, did all the stuff. So, and my dad will bend over backwards for my mom. Like it could be like a hurricane outside and she'd be like, I left something I probably don't need now in the car, but I might need it later. And he'll just jump up and go get it. Like, he's just like, sure, whatever you need. Like, that's how he is. So it's funny when I got married because Eric was like, he always teases my dad still. He's like, what is this shit you set me up for failure? Because, like, I'm not getting up just because she needed a drink. Like,
right.
My mom will be like, I'm kind of thirsty. My dad just pops up and appears with a drink. And he always teases my dad. He's like, that's what you raised him like, though. So when we got married, he was kind of like, lower this expectation.
Right.
But it's funny. You are influenced by what you see, what's around you. So if you grew up and you had a Betty Crocker mom, that's what you kind of go into your adulthood like. This is my expectation. This is what I should be. And then you do have some of that guilt of when you're not hitting those things that feel like they're the norms of the role you should be playing, whether it's as a female or as a mother, as a spouse. And, I never forget when we were newly married, I had just had Hunter like a week earlier. And my mom was there to help with the baby visiting. And Eric came home he was working like 12s at the time. Disgusting. He's just gross from working on the jet. And he comes in and he's like, I'm gonna jump in the shower. And he made like a joke about like, you want to join me? I would say a joke because we have like guests, And I just laugh. And he goes in the room. My mom's like, did you just tell your husband no to sex? And I was like, yeah. Here I am with like a baby on my boob.
Right.
Like a top knot looking like a hot mess. And she's like, you're too young to tell your husband no. I'll take the baby. We're gonna go on a walk. Go get in that shower. And I was like, all right. Like, she made me feel bad. I was like, okay. And Eric was cracking up. I walked in there. I was like, did your mom just shame you into having sex with me? And I was like, she did.
She absolutely did.
But she was just kind of like, hey, like, take a minute to think about him. And it's funny because it's 50-50. I'm like, think about him. I just popped a whole baby out of me. Like, what are you talking about? But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I can see where she's coming from. Like, you work 12s. You had a hard day. Like, so in any aspect of, like, seeing where somebody's coming from, like, my day's not harder than yours. It's not longer than yours. Like, so you have to step out of that little bubble a little bit. Get away of what you think that expectation and standard is, and you'll probably be a lot happier when you start being honest about what you want and how things should go, and be upfront about wanting to carry the weight, whether it's marriage or teammate or coworker. You can't make anything work if you are not honest.
I feel like I've been better about it now, but when you're talking like it doesn't have to be in your marriage, it can be in your team and things like that. I carry a lot on my plate at once. You know, yes, I have this one aspect over here where I have a husband and 2 children and a house and 2 dogs and like that. And I have a family, and I have family members that are consistently moving down here, and they're expecting like, you know, time to be with us. And then I have my own business, myself. And then I have a team business that 5 other people depend on. Mm-hmm. And I was just always saying yes, taking it on. Yes.
All those aspects want you all day long. Everybody needs something.
All day long. And so actually you helped me, like, not necessary, not something you should be responding to, not something you should be committing to. Mm-hmm. You can tell them no. You know, I love to answer the questions and talk to them and all those things, but sometimes I get so wrapped up in they don't, as a team, know that like maybe I'm talking to you about something, an addendum, something is going on, and then maybe Courtney has something going on with a listing, and then Olivia is trying to figure out something with, you know, a buyer. And I have 2 clients of my own reaching out to me.
They only aware of what they're doing.
As well as like my kids and my husbands and my mom and like all these things, you know, and these vendors and all this stuff's happening. And so, and that's not their fault, right? They're unaware of that.
Yeah.
And the reason they're unaware of it is because if I had to explain all that every single time,
because you say yes to everything.
Yeah.
So they assume you have the time for it.
Right. And so I really had to be really good and intentional about, you know, no, I cannot do that at this time. Or for instance, the other day, I blocked out 2 hours in my schedule to read a book and sit by the pool. I have to block out my time like that. Mm-hmm. It just so happened that one of our teammates, Angie, she was going to come over. She was like, can you look at one of my listings? Can you, and can I grab some open house signs? And I was like, yes, but I cannot look at your listing because I blocked out 2 hours of my time to sit by the pool. But I'm going right back to work after this.
Did you feel weird saying that?
I did, but out of like anybody, not everybody, because everybody will respect it. So I don't want to say everybody, but she respected it so much that I asked her for her login so I could just go on hers. Mm-hmm. And she would not send it to me until the 2-hour mark was up.
I love that.
And she was just like, you deserve to have your time. You etched this time out in your book. Like from the moment I wake up in the morning, my day is completely etched out.
Every minute.
Every minute. My personal development is etched out. Even like I like to do the laundry, switch the laundry and do the dishes and like wipe down the counters. It's etched out. Mm-hmm. All the way down to a meeting, when I'm having lunch. Like today, I'm here recording, and then I have another meeting after this. Like every single thing.
We've already done so much today.
It's so detailed out. I mean, I get so much done before 8 o'clock. It's unreal. People have no idea, right?
Yeah.
But she respected that, and I appreciated that. And it goes to like not taking on things that you shouldn't be taking on, but also giving yourself the okay to say no. Before I wouldn't do that, but now I mean, I have to mentally. I have to.
And I feel like you're finding now that you're, I guess, brave enough to take that on and say no when you feel like you can. I feel like you're finding, at least from what you've told me, that a lot of people are very receptive to that.
Yeah,
totally
I mean,
get it. Get back
I
with you
found
when you
confidence in it. Like I realized that I needed to be more confident. I needed to not have that scarcity mindset, that worry that I was going to upset somebody or let them down. I had to basically say, like, I can't do this because I know I will let you down. Mm-hmm. So
I can't take it on. Like, I'm not going to do it half-assed. That's not fair. So it's better for everyone if I tell you I can't do it right now. You either are going to default to somebody else that can help you, or you're going to learn how to do it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to be pushed off the cliff to learn how to fly.
Yeah.
But like the other night, you were saying that someone had come to you and was like, oh, I need XYZ. And I just kind of looked at you and you were like, what's the face? And I said, that's like asking the president of the company to take on like covering a shift. What? There's like all of these dynamics and all these businesses that we have where like there's all these things built in. It's great that you're comfortable. Come to me. You know that I'm here to cover you whenever needed. But there should be other people that kind of trickles to before it has to come to my door. There's other people to learn to grow on. And like some of the people maybe are in launch. You get those launch relationships. Maybe you're doing commercial, you get commercial client relationships that don't have anything to do with us, right? So you'll start branching out on those things. You make your networks, you find your people, your friends, your neighbors, and then you'll find other things. So I feel like as people go on and learn things, and as you draw lines where they appropriately should be, I'm always willing to help you cover whatever you need. But can you maybe ask this person or that person because I have XYZ? So it's like just learning to fall of like, hey, I have other people that I can ask. Like you're approachable. You're a great leader, so they're so comfortable coming to you. But I feel like as you start to say no to things, it defaults them to people that are probably more appropriate to ask. And then they're building those relationships too.
Right.
Which is nice. So you're also forcing them out of a box too by saying no sometimes, which is nice.
Do you think that, well, more like when do you think that it is appropriate to sacrifice things?
So back to the mom stuff, I struggle with that a lot. Like the finding the balance. And I think for me and my personal experience is it's new for me, right? I went 10 years being a stay-at-home mom. I was the go-to person. We'd go out and I used to like joke because Eric would order food. I'd be like, they don't eat that. What are you doing? And now we go somewhere, I order something. He's like, they don't like that. I'm like, what? And sometimes he laughs. He's like, you just hurt your own feelings. I'm like, I sure did. And like, I used to laugh at the people like, what pediatrician you use? Oh, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, that's a dad thing. And now I'm like, where do our kids go to the doctor? Because Eric takes on stuff. But I do think that I try to make sacrifices in places it makes sense. I'm not going to beat your practices, but I'm not going to miss a game.
Same.
I don't do this, but I'm going to do that. And it's funny because the other day, I think it was Hunter. One of the kids was like, oh, you're finally coming? You never come to anything. And I said, excuse me, Miss Ma'am. I've been to every game. Every game. And she's like, well, Daddy's usually the one that takes on the golf cart. I'm like, to practices on Tuesdays. Yep, he's there every week. I said, Mommy has never missed a game. So sometimes it's, they have to be pointed out that stuff. She's like, oh, you're right. And I'm like, yeah, I'm usually there in a new t-shirt I bought to support that event. Like
right.
Doing all these things. But you have to make sacrifices because you could give up everything and be at every minute of the stuff. And I'm very big on like, you can't get time back, right? Like you're never gonna be on your deathbed and be like, God, I wish I would have closed more houses. You're like, God, I wish I wouldn't have missed my kid's prom.
That's right.
Or whatever it is. So I don't miss the big moments. I try to be present. If I'm available, I do go to practice because they like that and they see that. And when I was younger, my dad was the one, coming to all the things. And there was one thing that he was like, I'm not going to make it. And I had like nobody. Like I went from having like grandparents, all this stuff to events like that day, nobody could come. And so spoiled, I was kind of like real heartbroken about it. And I was track and I'm in the middle of running this sprint and I was just behind this girl and out pops my dad in the crowd. I was like, go run. And I freaking won. Cause I was just like, saw him and I was like, yes, he came. Like, so you have to be that for your kids too. Like,
yeah,
you have to do that. And I mean, how old am I that I remember that random, like that was like a core memory.
Right.
So I feel like showing up every chance you get when you can, but also setting an expectation for your family and your kids, especially as they get older. Like your kids are older. They're much more capable of understanding that, right? They don't take it personally if you're not like at practice. But your son knows that you're at every game.
Yeah.
Your daughter knows you're going to be at graduation, like all those things. So making sure you're there. Like if you've ever been somewhere and you watch a kid look in the crowd for their parents and they're like real scared and they're real nervous and then they find them and they're like, oh, they just light up. Like that's amazing. So I try to not sacrifices in places that are going to basically make them need therapy.
I think that people, especially for like how I move, they look at me and they're like, I don't, she sacrifices so much. I don't. Mm-hmm. I manage my time very well.
But you do very good at social media. So you share, again, you give people access what you want them to see, right? Mm-hmm. So I've had people tell me, I didn't even know you had 3 kids. I'm like, well, that's fine because that's not what my message was.
Right.
So they see you like hustling, doing this and doing that. And their assumption is, gosh, she must never be around for her kids or her husband. Meanwhile, we've got a cap in the trunk. We've got the balloons in the front seat. Like, we're going to graduation. We're going to the game. We're going to close it. Then we're going to be on the meeting on the car on the way there. Like, you just don't see that. You
don't see that. And you're right. A lot of people like, man, she just works. What you don't see is when I shut my phone down and I actually spend time with my family. Or when I am actually, like, a lot of people be like, why didn't you come out last night? Because that was my dedicated time to my family or my kids, or, I was going to go have dinner with my son.
Or was that one silly thing I was willing to sacrifice?
Yeah.
Would I rather be at the game or maybe drink too much and not feel good tomorrow at this thing that I could easily do any other night of the week? Come on.
Right.
Pick sacrifices that make sense.
And that's the other thing. I pick sacrifices that make sense. going to a board and brush thing or going to an open house. Mm-hmm. To me, it's going to the open house.
Yeah.
To me, it's going to your business,
Mm-hmm.
going to your child's graduation, going to an open house. Mm-hmm. We go to the child's graduation, right? Mm-hmm. That has taken precedence over,
Yeah.
you know, the other
Or
thing.
you arrange it so that you can do both.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to come. I'm going to be there to watch you walk. I'm not going to be there for the 15 speakers before you get there. Like, whatever
Right.
it may be, like, do it in a way that makes sense. And again, your kids are older, so they're very capable of, like, that makes complete sense. You're not missing anything.
And they see me for things, you know, and they know that I've always been there for them. But it's also important for you to have that conversation with, you know, whoever it is. If it's your team, if it's your coworkers, if it's your boss, your husband, whoever it is, have those conversations with them. These are the things that are important to me in my life. Mm-hmm. While you are just as important, I also have to have a career when you graduate and you get married and you have kids and you have your own family. Like, I still have to be able to support myself.
And I need to like your dad when you guys leave.
Yeah.
My kids give me crap all the time. What do you mean you and dad are going to get, we're getting a babysitter? I'm like, first off, I love when they say that, because like, a babysitter again? I'm like, I haven't had one in like 3 months, but okay.
Right.
And then I'm like, yeah, like we have to spend time together too. Or like
Right.
at night, I give them all like the 10 minutes. I lay with them, we read, we talk about their day. And then each kid is like, oh, 10 more minutes. And sometimes I feel real bad. And I get real guilty and I lay there for too long. And then I come out and Eric's asleep already. I'm like, well, failed Eric tonight.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, leave a kid upset because I'm like, it's not fair. I need to give daddy time to haven't seen him all day. So it's like you are spread thin, but sometimes you can kind of gauge on who needs me more. Like maybe Eric's had a really bad day and he's waiting on me to come out so he can vent. Or maybe KJ's had a really bad day and Eric could care less because the Phillies are on. So
Right.
It's like you can kind of navigate that on, you know, as you go.
Right. No, I agree. And I think one of the other things when making these decisions and understanding like the whole entire process of what to give up, what not to give up, and women supporting women and all these things is not letting your emotions rule you. Mm-hmm. Not, you know, I do that. I let my emotions rule me. I'm going to take that back. I've done way better with that in the last month. I really don't have the emotions like I did before. Mm-hmm.
You don't take things personally anymore either.
No, I instantly used to get like heated or quick to jump on something. And now I'm kind of like, you know what? It's really just not worth it. Mm-hmm. It's really not worth the effort. I want to have emotions that are not just good, but passionate. Mm-hmm. Not spur of the moment, like quick decision emotions. And that can go in any way that we move, how we treat people, how we go about our day to day. And I think it also can correlate with the success from day to day, year to year, all of those things.
Yeah. And if you continue to effectively articulate your wants, your needs, when you need things to stop. Like sometimes I'm answering an email and a phone call's coming in and someone's sending a voice memo and FaceTiming and the car radio's on and the dog's barking and the kids are like, what's for dinner? And I'm like, stop. And I'm like, everyone be quiet. Go do this. Go do this. I'll turn my phone off. I go sit out back for a minute and I need 5 minutes because I will snap and someone's going to get it.
Yeah.
And is it going to be my poor child who just wants to show me that they got a certificate today at school? Like I've done that before. Mm-hmm. I've like not shut it down and getting overwhelmed and I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, I got honor roll. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like then I have to be like, all right, well, let me stop. And then I'm like, that's not her fault. Like, so you have to very much like, if you don't control it, it controls you.
Yeah.
And you have to get it in line. You have to get it in check. But I feel like women struggle extra hard with that. And a cool statistic I saw was only 6% of women break the 6-figure mark. And I feel like
that's because women don't support other women.
They don't. We really hesitate to do it. That's like when you like...
You know why we hesitate to do it? Because we don't trust them. Mm-hmm. And we don't trust them because we have allowed people in our circle that have hurt us, broke our hearts, and made us not trust people.
Or we mistake things for things they are not, right? Like we talked about Shelly on another episode. I couldn't stand her when we met her.
Right.
Why? Because she was attractive and the only girl on the team playing with a bunch of husbands? Yeah. And then I stopped and got out of my own way, and she's like one of my favorite people on the planet.
Right.
So it's just funny, like women, like men don't look at men like that. Like,
No.
men aren't threatened by that. Like,
No.
men aren't made to compete like that.
No, men are the first ones to put each other on. Like, hey, use my friend. They're amazing.
Yeah.
It's hard because I feel like I have a good group of women around me that I have placed meticulously in my life. That I have made sure that I'm like, this person is going to be a part of my life. And if
They've earned their seat.
They've 100% earned their seat. I trust them. I mean, I know that they ride for me. And I really think it goes along with the people that you associate with and what you accept and what you allow. If you feel like someone is in your life that isn't supporting you or isn't putting you on or is jealous, you need to call them out or cut them loose. Call them out or cut them loose.
Yeah.
If you call them out and they're unaware of their behavior and they choose to change it, great. If you call them out and they don't change it, you got to cut them loose.
Well, some people, I know we've had another episode about being self-aware. It's my biggest frustration in life when people are not. But you ever met that person that, like, maybe you're not their friend, you're their acquaintance, you know, they're your client, something like that. They're a coworker, whatever, but they have a problem with everybody. And they come to you, and when it's new, you're kind of like, oh, well, that's, you know, maybe navigate it this way. That's this, that's this. And then they just consistently, it's always this thing. I've had to have a come to Jesus with a couple of people and be like, baby, if you have a problem with everybody, you the problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's you.
You're always in a fight with somebody.
If you have a new best friend
all the
every
time?
3 months,
Yeah.
you got a new dude every 6 months, like, come on, you the problem.
Right.
But be self-aware, and especially in a career field like ours where it's women in a male-dominated industry, that's a hard thing to break in through. And you would think in 2023 that would not be a thing, but just like racism and sexism and, you know, all those things, it still exists. There's still things where it's very prominent. And
You know,
we've
I've
had
walked
people
into
been
a room
disrespectful.
before and people will literally treat me like dirt. Women. I don't even know why. I'm not really even sure what that is. It's like this
Probably 'cause
passive
you're
aggressive
cute.
behavior. I don't know what that is, you know, and I don't even think it's a looks thing. I think it's
Confidence makes people mad.
I don't know if it's like, you know, the way that our business is. I don't have no idea what it is, but I can recognize it. And typically I just ignore it and pretend it's not there. You know, I'm not going to address it with you. I'm not going to try and
Sometimes
change
I
your
feed into
mind.
it.
Yeah. I'm not going to change your mind. I'm not going to do that. But if we had the mindset of, you know, community over competition, women supporting women, I am an open book. I have always been willing to help other people because I truly believe that you can give everyone the recipe, but it's going to taste different every time.
Your actions back up your words, though. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's a bitch that will sit here and say till she's blue in the face, women support women. Women support women. But then your actions don't match what you're saying.
Right.
Because you're talking about your friends, women. You're putting down your friends, women. You're telling people not to use your friends, women. Whatever it may be. Like, you have to match that energy. What you're saying has to match your actions. Like, you can say, it's just like when people apologize. You can say, sorry, I want, but if you immediately go repeat the issue, you didn't mean that. Didn't mean shit.
Like the photographer that we use, she had put out like a little basket at the Carolina One office, and I was like, oh, are you taking on, you know, more clients? And she was like, yeah, I'm going to, because for a while she didn't. And I was like, girl, awesome. Good to know. I've already sent her like 3 people in the last 2 weeks. Other agents that are women, and I'm giving them access to the person that takes our photography and our videography, because guess what? Their clients were going to use them regardless.
And plus, my thing is, like, I support that photographer. I want to put her on.
I want to see her do great things.
And it's also a good look for you as a business professional to be like, hey, have this person that you know is worth their weight and that is going to leave a good taste in somebody's mouth. That just looks good on you.
That's
It
professional,
comes full
shows up
circle.
on time, you know, and I know that like what her end goal is for like over the next few years and stuff with her husband retiring. And I was like, let's go. Let me help you. Let me put you on. Let me see you be successful. There is never a time in my mind where I'm like, I want you to make money, but not more than me. Like, that's sick. I want you to be balling, baby. Just don't forget about me over here, okay?
Especially if I see somebody like if they have the potential, if they have the drive, if they have all these things and they're not really sure where to start, right? They're kind of stuck at the finish line because they don't know how to effectively articulate what they want, what they need, what their mission is. I get so into that. I'm like, come here, baby bird.
Yeah.
Here we go. Like, I'm just like, this is what we're going to do. This is your social media. Do this with your clients. Do this with your networking. Like, I love that.
Oh, same.
So I
obviously.
can't wait to like, that's my jam. Like, I'm
Tell me you want to create a business and I'll help it be successful.
Yeah.
Tell me what you want to do in your business, and I'm going to, if you can listen to me and you can do the recipe, but do it to your taste, to your standards, you will be successful in that.
It's a runaway train, but if you want to get on, I'm here for it.
Yeah. But don't be coming to me with a bunch of boundaries.
No, we don't do that. Find somebody else. But in all, I think the most important thing in remembering how, when, where to shatter your glass ceiling is to break through the noise. Don't let other people deter you. Don't let you deter yourself. Just keep your head down, get in your grind, do your thing, and surround yourself with the right people. And that's a wrap. If you like what you heard, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And as always, you can listen on Apple, Spotify, and more. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube for video podcast. We'll see you next week.